start myself. My name's Roger Whitelock. I'm a headshot and portrait photographer and associate of Headshots Matters. And yeah, I'm based in London in the UK. Okay.
And I'm Jordan Fraker. I'm also an associate photographer with Headshots Matter. I'm a Dallas headshot and portrait photographer, and yeah, I'm very delighted to be here and to get to talk with these amazing actors.
Nikki.
Hi, I am Nikki Dixon. I am an actress, writer, producer, director based in Dallas, Texas. I'm also the DFW local SAG-AFTRA president. I will be starting my second term for that in September. So thank you, thank you. So yeah, I am delighted to be here as well. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you. And Shawn.
I'm Shawn Gann. I am a voice and casting director and voiceover artist and theatrical performer and performer in general based out of Dallas, Texas, best known for works like Kaiju Number 8 and The Apothecary Diaries. And I've been a theater maker and a creator in DFW since 1999.
Brilliant. Thank you. And Dwayne, do you want to just do a quick intro for the?
Yeah, of course. My name is Dwayne Browne, and I'm the founder and community curator of Headshots Matter. I'm also a commercial corporate photographer in Ottawa, Canada, and I've been doing that for a super long time, a little over 40 years. And I'm very pleased to sort of see what Raj has going here with this engagement and Q&A. So thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Dwayne. So yeah, I think this content today is going to be really interesting for the UK audience. There's a big crossover between, acting roles in the US and the UK. I was talking to an agent quite recently that are based in both London and New York. And I was chatting to them about, how if you're a UK actor looking to break into the US market and vice versa, how does that work? So I think the first thing to chat about that would be really interesting is what that acting landscape in the US looks like right now. What is the market like, if you like? We've had COVID, we've had the writer's strike, there have been these big events that have taken place. So it'd be really interesting just to understand from Shawn, Jordan, and Nikki how would you describe that landscape if an actor in the UK or the US is looking to break into it? What does that landscape look like?
I guess I will start. So there was, as you said, COVID, then the writer strike, and then the actor strike, and I still don't think that we have recovered fully from it. The last few years have been very tight with auditions and with just productions in general. I think people are still scared. They're not sure what everything even means, right? I think with the onset of all the streaming platforms and stuff like that, there's so much stuff that's out there that I mean nobody knows where anything is going to land. A lot of series regulars, those that used to do series regulars, are now doing guest stars. So those of us that were in guest star land are getting the pushback down to co-star land. So there's just so much stuff that's still just kind of just in the air. My manager has actually said out of LA, he's like, this is the craziest I've ever seen this industry. So
Hmm.
it's just tough right now.
Yeah. Okay. Shawn.
Mine's a bit of a two-parter. Coming up through the industry before pre-COVID, the pay and access and in-person stuff obviously was on the up and up. And when COVID happened, everything shut down, except for in my industry of voiceover, it was actually a boon, especially in anime. We're a $30 billion a year industry, and we had a backlog of titles that we could continue to pump out, and remote recording became prevalent during that period. I am sitting in the advent of COVID right now. This was an investment I made immediately. And during that period, I felt obviously isolated and disconnected from the world, but through voiceover, I was connected to my entire industry, and it was a bit of a boon for me and a boon for the voiceover industry. And then coming out of COVID, the voiceover industry started to kind of like close in on itself. A lot of places are a little bit more tight, want more in-person stuff. I'm a big advocate for remote work. As far as commercial and on-camera stuff, the pay's never been the same. My engagement with it has kind of gone down significantly, and people that were very big in that field who also crossed over into voiceover decided not to be as much a part of that as they are now voiceover. It's just easier to audition. It's easier to record, and I can do it in my PJs, for the most part. And theatrically speaking, I don't think we've ever recovered, and it may be many years before we recover, and things keep happening that are kind of stymieing the comeback of theater, especially in the current climate of our administration and how funding is going and where that funding is being taken from. So it's up and down, and it's a weird thing. And of course, the advent of like VTubers and a lot of like the podcasting that's been going on, like where you're getting your entertainment from and how you're gaining income from that entertainment. It's just all over the place. And I think the people that really benefit the most are voiceover people and influencers, really, people who seek engagement that way.
So, Shawn and Nikki, you've both touched on something there, which has been an issue certainly in the UK industry, which is this kind of tension, I suppose, between television and streaming. Kind of traditional channels and streaming channels. And what we've seen in the UK is that the budgets on productions have become tighter. The number of roles available in traditional TV channels, TV series has reduced, and streaming is kind of sucking up a lot of that, budget viewer attention, and it's kind of harder to get a role in a TV production. A lot of people actually working in TV now on the production side they're all freelance, so there are very, very few permanent jobs in TV production now. And it feels very kind of tenuous in the UK. And as you were saying, Shawn, they're nowhere near back to where they were sort of prior to 2019. Do you both feel that there's a strong parallel between what's happening in the UK and the US from what we've said so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think the industry is the industry, right? Like, yeah, we have a whole big ocean in between us, but I think at the end of the day, it's the industry overall that just really took a hit. And it seems to me, and what I'm seeing as well, is that a lot of productions that were here are actually going out of the States and going elsewhere. So there's a lot of stuff that's filming in, the UK, but I mean, y'all have some really good actors. Y'all over there, y'all put in the work. We over here, we trying to skate by. Y'all come over here, and I'm like, they're British. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're bringing over British actors to do American accents a lot more often
Oh, really?
these days.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
more so than the other way around. I'm like, come on, I can go over there. I can do a little bit of the accent, just I can do that, But I feel like the industry is the industry. I don't know if there's really a divide in as far as what's happening across the board, across the world. And I'm just hoping that at some point we do come out of it.
Mm.
Well, there's certainly more funding. There's certainly more funding in the UK for the arts than there is here. And speaking about what kind of Shawn was talking about with how some of the funding has dried up here based on some odd decisions by our administration. We here in Texas have recently gotten a boost of funding. It's kind of unclear from what I can tell from my perspective as a photographer working with people in this industry. It's unclear as to how that will all get allocated. But I will say here in Dallas, we have a really unique industry. And I think, Nikki and Shawn are two perfect people to bring on because we do have a really strong, commercial industry here. We also have a at one point was a little bit bigger, but it's kind of, I think, from what I can tell, it's getting there again. Film and television industry and the voice acting industry here. I mean, this is one of the hearts of the industry is right here in Dallas, and I think it is an extremely fast-growing industry as far as actors coming in, projects being made, and fans. There are so many rabid fans. And from my perspective, again, as a photographer, I do see some struggle happening, but I also see the demand for good quality branding and headshots exploding upward because I think it's because of the onlineness of everything now that actors can kind of be their own, brand ambassadors and not just acting. And I think a lot of people are finding joy in representing themselves in an authentic way, whether that be the headshots that they use for auditions, as well as, actor branding, which is becoming a much bigger, there's more demand for actor branding. And it's been a really exciting time for me personally. I'm having so much fun working with these actors here in Dallas because there's such a wide variety of actors that approach me.
Yeah, and I'm Jordan's biggest advocate.
I don't know. I might be the biggest advocate. Sorry.
I do is send business.
I don't know. I teach acting classes on Monday nights, and I have like 4 people that are going to be contacting you. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Can I ask you a question based on that actors doing their own kind of brand ambassadorship? How do agents feel about that? Do they feel that they're relinquishing that kind of creative control over to actors, or has it always been like that? In regards to how you will want to present yourself creatively from a brand perspective?
Well, I will say from my perspective, again, I'll stop saying that eventually, but from what I can tell, yes, so you have agents and then you have managers,
Yeah.
and I think the layman doesn't quite know, and even I really don't fully know how different those things can be as far as what their roles are. But agents don't particularly. Some agents do. They'll throw some kind of editorial style portraits on the website, on the agent profile, but they're not submitting those for auditions at all.
Right.
Just headshots, and that's because of casting director taste more than anything. And taste, as we all know, can evolve. So that's just where we're at right now. But I do think that actors, and especially in voice, they can kind of punch their own ticket as far as what they use during like con circuit, like what they print out and sign for their fans, and how they advertise themselves online is totally partitioned and separate from what their agent does. And a lot of voice actors don't even need an agent. I mean, Shawn may disagree with me, but yeah, I'd be curious to hear what Shawn and Nikki have to say about this, because I do think that actors, because of this age of social media, do have a little more autonomy to kind of do some things on their own outside of what their agent requires for them.
Jump on what Jordan said there. I went through the majority of my career without an agent for voiceover. I had representation for film, camera, commercial stuff, but my voiceover career was self-managed, and I did rather well with that. And the editorial stuff is right on, because we can build our personality out of that. And I think if you're at a certain point in your career where a lot of what you do is brand management and getting out and engaging with fans, and you're behind a microphone the whole time, so it really doesn't matter what you look like. I mean, I would say with the advent of VTubers, like kind of the big thing is that they don't show their face, right? They have this image that's up that moves, and it's evolved almost fully animated. So going out and being able to make your personality shine is a better way to connect with your audience as far as a one-on-one basis. Now, if you're starting out in your career and you are looking to connect with casting agents and you're looking to kind of be somebody people want to work with, yeah, you're going to follow more of the kind of old standard rules because you're going to want to break in. You want to make an impression on the people who are gatekeepers. But as far as my career and my last conversation with Jordan on my headshots, I was like, I don't really care what agents and managers think about what I want to do. I know what my brand is. I know what will get people excited about the work that I do and get me into the market. And my market now is more about appearances, more about directing, and more about education. So it's whatever image I want to put forward, and it works really well for myself.
And Shawn, I guess because it's voice, you can be where you are now, but you could be working on gigs that are anywhere in the world, I guess, right?
Well, absolutely. As far
Very
as
cool.
kind of going back a little bit on the UK US divide on acting,
Yeah.
it's not I think the market is what it is, but there is that ocean and there is the divide and there is that location bias and an us versus them sort of mentality, especially in a very competitive market, right? During the video game strike that just barely wrapped up, studios were heading overseas to the UK to do video game work. We were losing a lot of studios here, and I doubt many of those studios come back. So, the UK saw a little bit of a benefit from that, but also on our end, we're like, oh, the UK, why are they taking our work? And it's like, well, it's kind of on us.
Yeah.
Studios don't have to be adherent to, especially foreign studios, don't have to be adherent to our union. They just want the stuff done. So, while we're sitting here bickering, trying to figure out our market and how we negotiate with people, the risk is losing some business. And that's exactly what happened. And when that stuff happens, that kind of muddies the water on where the work's going, who's benefiting from it and whatnot. But also from the voiceover perspective, I can connect to everybody. I directed a show where I was recording, a YouTuber, Sea Dog out of Japan, Tokyo, and people out of North Carolina, out of Canada, Seattle, and mostly my connections are either within Texas, LA, or New York. But for the right project and what we need to do, I can go all over the world to make it happen.
That's very cool.
Yeah, thanks. I think an interesting point to pick up on, which kind of leads into the next question as well, is that it's that democratization of the process. So it's never been easier to get a photo taken. It's never been easier to record a self-tape at home. It's never been easier to get content out there. But I think what we're seeing is that is just now raising the bar all the time. So if anyone can take their own headshot, if anyone can record a little self-tape at home, how do you stand out from that crowd? And it's to do with the quality and having your marketing looking better, being more professional, to Shawn's point, more on brand for you personally. So I think we're seeing this kind of this need to raise the bar across actors marketing to get that standout. And to that point, how much of a difference is there, do you think, between, and this might be a good one, Jordan, for you to begin with, how much of a difference is there between a US headshot and a UK headshot? Or is that a completely false question? And actually,
Yeah,
is it just about who you are and what you need to project as an individual?
they're very different. And it boils down to, it's a cultural thing that I think British artistic taste is it's more sophisticated. I think it's based in an appreciation for fine art, and I think American taste is based in an appreciation for commercial art, and that is I mean, I'm really pushing maybe a little bit by saying that. I don't think that that's applicable across the board, but I do think, fundamentally, I think American actor headshots for auditions are kind of almost photos of who the actor can be. And I think a British actor headshot is a really artfully for for a lot of the great actor headshots in the UK that I follow. It's an artfully crafted fine art portrait of the actor. It's almost like a portrait of the artist, as opposed to it's almost them in a sort of ennui. There's very few smiles. A British commercial actor headshot is kind of just a very subtle, pleasant expression. But here in LA and New York and Atlanta, like the coastal kind of markets, they're straight up going super charactery. They're wearing nurse scrubs, or they're putting their hairs in pigtails and overalls and going like in a photo. And here in our market in Dallas, we haven't quite succumbed to the kitsch of that. I think our agents and our casting directors still are trying to kind of hold on to some sort of maturity about that. But because there are so many actors in LA and New York and Atlanta now, these actors have to stand out, and that's how they stand out. And I think in the UK, the actors are trying to stand out, and I think that the photographers are trying to stand out. But perhaps there's just a little more artistic integrity. And I'm really like crapping all over our industry by saying all this, but I think that it's a matter of them following what they believe works. The industry kind of dictates what works and what doesn't, and everything like this just evolves, and that's just kind of where I think we're at right now as far as the difference between the two nations and how they do it.
I have a kind of a perspective, kind of more of a layman's perspective and not headshot photographer perspective. My wife and I, we watch a lot of programming that comes out of the UK that's streamed on BritBox, so lots of kind of crime drama stuff. And all of the actors that we're seeing, it feels like they're not even wearing makeup. Like they're such characters, and they're very approachable, and they're very, I don't know, gritty. And if you watch anything that kind of comes out of, whether it's streamed or filmed out of the US, there's a little more polish, a little more, I don't know, polish should just be the way to say. So I guess if each of the actors markets are pursuing each of those markets, they're kind of telling that best story. So yeah, I think they're considerably different. And from our perspective of Headshots Matter, we see a dramatic difference between American headshot photographers versus European. It's considerably different. It's quite exciting, actually. It's pretty fun. I wonder if a photographer in the US that takes a little more of that European kind of approach could not help their actors stand out. I wonder, what do you think, Shawn and Nikki, of how the actor is presented? What do you think? Could it be a bit different?
I will say I have not studied enough to know the difference between a UK photographer. I'm so interested in it now, and I will be going to look to see, and I will be like, Jordan, hey, can we try? You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's one thing I love about Jordan. He is so quick to play, and he's so like just wants to try things and just so open to just everything. But yeah, I mean, if that is something that we can bring here that will, make us stand out more, or even give us that, oh, well, maybe they're European. Let's call them in because they're better actors. So I think it's just, I mean, I think it would be wonderful just to even just look at it and just to see the comparison myself.
Would Nikki, do you agree though that from your perspective, even just from a general sense, um, that American actors in this industry, as far as like what they seek in headshots, does have kind of a commercially driven,
Absolutely.
polished look, like Dwayne was saying? Because I agree with that. I think it is like there's a polish to the way they should look. Like they
Hmm.
shouldn't look overly gritty. I think, and it's not for any reason other than I think casting directors just kind of have their taste. Because the agent is trying to cater to the casting director, right? And they're trying to do that because they want their talent to get booked. And it's not that casting directors are, uptight and stuck in their ways. It's just it's their perception of what they can see from a two-dimensional facsimile of a person, of an actor, what they can see about that actor through that image. And if if the photographer isn't speaking the language the way that reaches the casting director, then the casting director's got all these photos they're flipping through.
Hmm.
And so that's what the photographer is trying to do, is we're trying to bonk them over the head and have them go, whoa, okay, let's put that aside. Right?
Hmm.
Touched base on it earlier too. The aesthetic choices between the two countries, and this is me coming from a perspective of not being born in the U.S. I actually am a Filipino and worked in Asia and Europe in my youth, but uh, it's I think it's a cultural thing. In the UK, acting, art, theater in general, that's an academia thing. Everyone's kind of brought up on it. There's a drive to be proficient in it. Everybody's kind of on the same page and kind of has a background in it that they can all reference. They all kind of go through the same streams. In the U.S., acting, being famous, being on camera, that's an achievable dream for anybody without education, without any experience. Anyone thinks they can do it, and people have the dream to try it. So what they see in front of them, media-wise, is what they consume and what they want to be a part of. So whether they're very internet-based and they see YouTubers and VTubers doing their thing, or if they are watching a lot of television and seeing a lot of NYPD or CSI or any of that kind of stuff, the kind of procedural stuff, or if they're seeing like big Marvel movies. Those are the things that really influence them, and there's no real educational basis for why they want to be in there. Some then choose to go to like a Meisner school or a Stanislavski school, or go to get some theatrical training or some camera training. But I think that overseas, a lot of that starts at a more elementary level and then builds up through primary school and stuff, and then collegiate, and it's just like a stronger path. So there's a greater sense of what those shots should be, or how you should present yourself, and how you should go about the business. Here, it's the Wild
So
West.
this last question, it's a big issue, and I think everyone's going to have a quite a strong take on this. But obviously, it's the impacts of AI, and I think there are two aspects to this. There's the whole question around, should actors be representing themselves with AI? Should they be using AI generated headshots? Um, Again, talking about that democratization of the process, it's very easy to take a selfie on the phone and then create, those looks that Jordan was talking about. Here I am as a nurse, here I am as a business person. It's the kind of thing that AI, can do reasonably well, let's say. So I think there's a discussion there around, does AI have a place in the world of headshots? And then the second element is around the impact of AI on the industry more widely. What is that starting to look like? And how do actors need to navigate that? What kind of things should they be thinking about? So there's two aspects to it. AI headshots, yes or no? And what is the impact that AI is having on the industry? How do actors need to equip themselves to deal with that? So I'd love to start with you, Nikki, if that's okay.
No. So short answer, no, absolutely not. On the AI headshots, it's lazy and it's cheap and it does a disservice to the artists who are photographers. It is a craft. It is, and it should be treated as such. So no, I think that the advent of it. I mean, it's like it's just so lazy. That I mean, I think that's what I mean, it boils down to for me. And yeah, sure, you can turn yourself into a nurse or whatever, but it still looks fake. Like it's not even, you don't have that life in your eyes that you get from an actual photographer, and you don't get that energy that that photographer pulls out of you whenever you're in session. You got the music going, you got whatever going, and you're posing, you're moving, you're flowing. And so no, you're just going to take a picture and be like, okay, let me just upload this and turn myself into a doctor or whatever. Lazy. So no. As far as with how it's the landscape right now, God, I don't even know. It's like we tried to put in the protections that we could from a SAG-AFTRA perspective in the new contract to protect actors from AI usage, right? Because there's so much stuff that can be done, like all these deep fakes, like you take somebody's face and I mean, I think Taylor Swift had something happen or Scarlett Johansson, somebody had something happen to where it was a deep fake of their face on this thing, and it's really scary to be honest. And again, I also think it's lazy for filmmakers to go and just use AI instead of using an actor who can actually emote, truly emote, instead of having, some robotic whatever, come in and do the work. Now, yes, there's a place for it in some instances where maybe, there's a huge stunt that needs to be done. And instead of, risking the life of the actor or the stunt performer, which kind of sucks for stunt performers, right? But
Hmm.
if it's something that's just hugely dangerous, I could see the desire to do it. But a stunt performer is also a performer and they need to make a living too. So if they want to be the ones to jump off this cliff into this water, it's on them. But if, but ultimately my answer is no to AI. No. In writing anything, right? There are people doing chat GBT writing scripts. No, there are writers who need to write. They know the human experience. Be human. Let's keep it human. So
Hmm.
that's my feeling.
I think there's also that which you touched on when you spoke about, the experience of being in a shoot and actually working with the photographer and that energy in the room. And it's kind of there's almost a decision here around what kind of life do we actually want to lead? Do we want to just be sitting in front of a keyboard prompting an AI, or do we want to be in a room together creating with other human beings and sharing that energy and that collaboration? I think that's a huge decision, but I'm not sure if we're being given the chance to make it actually.
Mm. That's
Mine
unfortunate.
starts from a huge like philosophical point before we even get to photography or making anything. One, as AI stands right now, it's an environmental disaster, right? So the usage of it is unethical to begin with. On paper, AI is like any other technology. It's meant to alleviate the burden of automation and the stress and work of humans doing these things. It's not meant to steal the creative aspects and the things that personally and specifically make us human. So, why would I want to give that aspect of myself up? Why would I want to give any part of my art up to a machine, to an algorithm? Because it is just an algorithm. No matter how smart or intuitive or how you communicate with it or what it can produce, it is an algorithm based on all the information that's put out there. And because it can process at trillions and trillions of bytes per second and just massively hit servers and use water and just tear up our environment, I don't see it as a feasible thing for anything as basic as art. I see a benefit for it in the medical field when they're trying to figure out things and trying to save lives. I understand it when they're trying to, like, streamline automation for manufacturing and pieces like that, or trying to figure out like travel things and make things safer. But for it to take away the things that make us specifically human, the human experience, it's a no, it's a non-starter for me, right? I don't I don't believe in it. I don't want to sit at a desk my whole life, you know, hammering out code and being middle management or any of those things. Those are the things I did as a survival job. I was a database administrator coming up for a decade while I tried to make my way in this industry. I don't want AI to take away the thing that I strived for. And I know that technology often makes jobs irrelevant. That's kind of the point. As manufacturing goes up, like, certain jobs disappear. But art, the expression of us being people, that should not be the thing we take away from ourselves. And as Nikki said, it's lazy. The oxymoron of an AI artist is moronic to the extreme. And it just gets my blood pressure up whenever we talk about the usage of it, right? Even from a corporate perspective on corporate headshots, my wife works at Geico, and they've looked at all the headshots that have come through that facility, and even at the executive level, people who are laymen to the photography field are like, oh, that looks awful. This is obviously AI. Like, their eye can catch it. And if their eye, as untrained, professionals, can catch those things, we as professionals can see it clear as day, and it sticks out like a sore thumb, and it's even offensive. So, yeah, before I get too much further on my soapbox, AI is wretched, and it's invaded the voiceover space as well. I've seen dubbing where, like, certain Chinese donghua animation, they used AI across the board on it, and it was awful. The video game industry was on strike for 10 plus months over the very notion of AI protections. And I think the problem, especially with representation, is that there's a disingenuous approach to it. A lot of our representatives in that space had tie-ins to AI industries and businesses, and so they had a conflict of interest. And it just becomes this battle when you mentioned it earlier about, like, do we even have a choice in all of this? It benefits, as most things do in our capitalist society, it benefits the 1% of us who have already made it, who have a huge backlog of stuff. Just use Bill Murray as an example. He can sell his image and his AI and make a living for his estate and his people for forever and ever and ever. But that still takes away jobs from people who are coming into the industry later on. Where we need to move and grow and let things be and have the human experience. And there we go.
Yeah, no, I think the environmental side as well is something which is not talked about enough. And every time I see someone publish on LinkedIn, here's me as a little plastic doll in a plastic case that I've created with ChatGPT, and I just sit and think, well, that's the resources that have gone into creating that piece of ephemera, which will now sit on servers for Lord knows how many years, consuming even more resources. It just feels like a kind of vicious cycle of resource consumption for no
It's
kind
literally
of
the only
significant
point you can
purpose.
make to somebody who doesn't understand AI in general. If you can bring up the environmental impact and actually show the statistics and what's going on, that's the only thing that gives, like, a casual pause,
Mm.
right? Not everybody is about the environment or preservation of it, but, like, it is astounding. Like, I mean, I'm not the best environmentalist in the world. I'm not out there, fighting the good fight or anything like that, but I can see that it is outrageous.
I so my thoughts on AI are pretty complicated, in that we have all been using AI for a while. We use a lot of different types of AI, as far as if we're talking about intelligent software that helps us do the things that we want to do. I mean, AI powered is like the buzzword for, like, everything now. Everything is powered by AI, and it's not really. It's just, you updated your software to do a little more than it did before. And, I saw a car commercial that said, AI powered blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but this is not that different than what it was before. To me, there are a lot of different things that are AI. I mean, as photographers, we use Photoshop. And I mean, that is an artificial intelligent, software program. We use Photoshop. I mean, we could get in there in Microsoft Paint and try to manipulate the pixels, I guess, one at a time. But yeah, we have a goal, right? And as artists, as craftsmen, we're trying to get things looking the way they want. My issue is just from a fundamental standpoint, we're just the generative nature of these AI generative images is unethical to steal the look. This look didn't just come out of a vacuum. These looks were created by people that were, holding cameras and making decisions and then selecting images and then showing them. That's the issue to me. Is it's the stealing of the work of an unnamed faceless artist out there, and then homogenizing it all together for the sake of just living a frictionless life where we don't have to learn a skill, and we don't, that's really the issues. AI is just, as everything starts, as our intention goes towards living a frictionless life, we just will become uninterested in learning these new skills, these artistic skills, and then this art will just be there for us to enjoy. And I'm just not convinced that we're going to enjoy a life like that,
The art will never evolve, right? Art is always evolving. And if we solely rely on AI and conjure up everything that's ever happened and put it in AI and decide to exist off of that, there is no evolution beyond that point, right? The art is what it is, and it only learns to the capacity of what it can be fed, right? So there needs to be the next, Leibowitz. There needs to be the next, Picasso that rolls up, that changes the genre, that, finds another step. AI can only go so far as where we are already at.
I'm going to say a couple of things from our perspective from managing the project Headshots Matter is, and from a photographer's perspective that's been doing this for a long time. I think authenticity matters greatly. I don't know, maybe greatly isn't even enough to say, but a photographer needs to be part of the process, whether that's a cinematographer, whether that's a still photographer. We as human beings who have figured out the craft of how to use this box, this camera and lighting, but more importantly, how do we react to a person in front of us? How does that person in front of us react to us? How do we calm them? How do we inspire them? The subtleties on how, it's like what Nikki said, like the subtleties of how an actor or a corporate person reacts to Jordan or someone else on the other side of the camera, it's magical, and it can be seen. You can identify it. So I think whether or not people want AI headshots or photography or not, or whether companies want to do it or not, I think it's not going to fly as well as authenticity. I think authenticity will always win. Maybe that's naive of me, but I do honestly believe it. So I don't really see it impacting headshots, at least. I think the film industry, yeah, that's a little scary. But how we can use AI to help us with the post-production and how I loved how you put it, Jordan, about, we've learned to craft using some of the tools, the post-production tools to help us with that craft is been helpful with AI. But to create the actual base image, it's it's kind of magic. It's really hard to put your finger on. It's hard to articulate. It's hard to teach. It's hard to learn. It's experiential learning. I really believe that we're going to have that for a long time, and hopefully ever.
No, Dwayne, I mean, I think you'd be surprised at how many AI generated headshots I've seen online on
Wow.
social media. Just, you
Nikki,
know,
you hit it on the head. It's lazy. It
yeah.
is plain lazy, and it's cheap, and it's not a well thought out approach. It really isn't.
Yeah, I mean, I
Compliment people
understand,
like Jordan.
sometimes the artists they're starving. We're starving artists sometimes.
Of
The
course.
money is not, the money's funny and our change is strange.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they, I guess, make do with what they can do at that time.
Sure.
But, I feel that, after a while, if this is really what you want to do, this is your craft, you need to invest in some
Yeah.
good shots and
Yeah.
invest in yourself. And in that, you just need to start saving your money.
Yeah.
And if it takes you 6 months, fine.
Yeah.
Use what you have at the
Yeah.
time, but save that money to go get somebody to take some really good shots to get to so that you can see your essence,
Yeah.
not the essence of this generative
Hmm.
machine.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Compliment
And
people like Jordan. I was just going to say that, like, just going off my shots alone, I could not conjure that in my head. I could not imagine creating that dynamic and the layering and the colors and the choices that were made. I can tell AI, hey, I want a good picture and I want to look good in a suit, but what we did dramatically and what we did aesthetically, those are things, and personality wise, those are things I could not have just put into a prompt to make happen for myself, right?
yeah.
I needed the collaboration. I needed somebody to guide me. I needed his help, his expertise. I had a vague idea of the things that I wanted to achieve, and he made them, a reality that I would be unable to imagine for myself.
Hmm.
I think
My creative partner that I work with my studio, she explains it to the people we're photographing, whether it's a headshot or something a little more involved, that what we're doing, we're writing a poem, and part of that writing of a poem, you need life experience. You need to understand who you're writing it for, what's the story, what's the person you're collaborating with. Like, it's so dynamic. So yeah, it needs to be a human experience.
I think you just described the creative process in general. The creative process is a creative process through all mediums. The way it's done and executed changes from medium to medium. But I think what Shawn does is he writes a poem, and I think what Nikki does is she writes a poem.
Yes.
We're painting pictures. That is what we do, is we tell stories and we paint pictures. Metaphorically speaking. Not all of us paint pictures, but
yeah,
Yes.
I think in the industry that we're working in as well, where, with headshots and actors' portraits specifically, where the intention is to show a casting director what somebody looks like. And how can they have confidence in that headshot if it's been, AI generated? So
If it's not them, right?
yeah, it's not just about, I can see authenticity becoming almost a currency in what we do, and actually there's a value to and I can see a situation in which actors are going to be asked to kind of verify that their headshots are authentic and have been photographed rather than generated, because my background, I've been on the other side of the coin, and I've cast a lot of people for TV and photo shoots, and it's the worst thing is when somebody walks in the room, they don't look like a headshot, and you immediately feel that your time's been wasted. So I think there's a real fundamental requirement here, that AI actually it can't deliver it. It can never have the authenticity of a photograph.
Well said.
I think there is so I think that all creative industries have an obligation to gatekeep AI out, and it obviously will get better and better and better, and the normalization of it being used will grow as well. Like H&M just had a whole, I think, campaign, or maybe it was all catalog work. I don't know, but they used all AI models. And so they just had these AI models, and they used some software where it put their clothes, they had photos done of their clothes by a photographer, but then those clothes were put on these AI models, and they got a lot of backlash for it.
Mm.
And that backlash will need to continue to gatekeep AI out. But as it keeps happening more and more, there will be less and less backlash, thus normalizing all of this. And it needs to be the case for casting directors. There needs to be backlash when an actor has the audacity to submit an AI headshot. But it's already happening, I'm sure. I don't know, but I would assume it is. And so, an agent is a gatekeeper in that sense. A casting director is a gatekeeper in that sense, right? And I do think that the industry is pseudo protected in that sense for photographers. Like, there will still be demand for headshots to be the thing that's used. That, there needs to be proof positive that the actor can collaborate with someone with a camera in their hand. And like I said, this is a good kind of gatekeeping. It's a buzzword these days, but that is the only way to really describe it. Is we creatives need to gatekeep AI out.
Nikki mentioned it earlier too. Beyond the kind of like understanding between entities in this exchange, it's also dangerous, right? People fake things all the time. It's like falsifying a resume, but it's also like falsifying achievements that you've made. There's people that are putting things out there, or taking other people's art, or taking people and putting them into things that, and it works for good and bad and humor and all sorts of things, but it's still dangerous. It's not regulated, and anything that has to do with technology should have some sort of limits and regulations put on them, so that people are kind of kept safe from I don't know, multitude of things beyond the PTSD of being exposed online.
I like the strong language, Shawn. It is, using AI incorrectly or wrongly. It's falsifying. It's plagiarizing. It's just wrong. So, yeah.
There was that news article of that student that graduated from college, and he held up his laptop that showed he had used ChatGPT to make his way through the entire process. I mean, that is so disingenuous. Like, what did you learn? It literally is making us stupider.
Yeah. I think the real value of education is learning how to think for yourself, and how to challenge things and challenge ideas, and how to ask questions. And that there is a danger that those skills will be lost. That faculty for critical thinking as well as creative thinking, if you're just being there have been studies that show that drop off in brain activity when people are just using ChatGPT over and over and over on a regular basis. Their brains are actually becoming less active and less able to think for themselves because of this kind of spoon feeding. And as you said, Shawn, everyone's being spoon fed from the same bowl of porridge. So where's the new content going to come from? Where are the new ideas that are going to create these new recipes? It's just not there. So it's kind of a diminishing return over time.
Crutch or use it, overuse it. What is your passion? What do you desire to do? Do you desire to be a charlatan, to be a fake the entire time? What are the things that you want to contribute? Like, what do you want? What stamp do you want to leave on the world? If you use AI and fake stuff the whole time, you left nothing. Find your own passion.
Yeah. It's in 50 years, my grandchildren will find my little prompt diary. That'll be my legacy. Okay, brilliant. All right, well, I think that's been a really fantastic discussion. Lots of really interesting viewpoints there, and I think this is going to be hugely useful and very interesting for a lot of people when we get the content out there on online. So just want to thank everyone again for taking part today. Really appreciate it, and yeah, it's been great to spend some time chatting with you all. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thanks.
Raj.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, thanks.
absolutely.
An
Thanks for making
interesting
this happen, Raj.
topic. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem at all. It's a pleasure. No, it's been absolutely great. Thank you. Really, really appreciate it.